Not having a personal brand in 2025 is like trying to send a telegraph in 2025. Let me explain. A lot of the times I see people out here who are trying to blow up on social media, trying to get clients, trying to get customers, whatever it is, especially if you're a person who's a business owner or if you're building a product, you need to have a personal brand. Not having a personal brand is like literally being almost like a ghost. Like it's like being not having a personal brand is like almost like being not necessarily invisible, but dang near invisible in today's world. Let me tell you why. When you decide not to have a personal brand in 2025, it really does make you seem less trustworthy than the next person. And the truth is, you need to stop leaning into being a ghost in 2025 on the internet, especially if you're someone who is aspiring to become a content creator, to start your own business, whatever it is. You need to have and let people know what it is that you are and what you stand for and what they should expect from working and trying to deal with you. And I'm going to even use myself as an example, but I really want to get into what it truly means to have a personal brand, what that actually looks like versus what it doesn't. For example, if you're a person who is trying to start out, let's say you want to be a cybersecurity analyst, and this is very important for me to talk about because I also like I'm a tech girly and I also somehow like wellness. But I can speak from experience of someone who's worked in tech, worked in that environment, and telling you how and why certain people get chosen for certain things over others. So if you look on LinkedIn, for example, and you see someone who is amazing, they have their GitHub public, they have examples of their product and they're marketing themselves effectively. What makes them different than someone who is just applying for 100,000 jobs in 1 week or a month or so and not hearing anything back? What's the difference between those two people? The difference between a person who takes the time out to legitimize what it is that they're doing, posting and really expecting their audience to, and engaging with an audience and building around who they already are and what they're already passionate about, is going to have a 1,000 times easier chance of landing their next role or finding someone to be their client. So a lot of the times that we see people who are just applying for the jobs, just doing, what they can and what that has worked in the past, it really does not translate to working in 2025. And I know that's really very blunt. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going to be blunt on this video. That's just how the whole channel is. That's just how I am. I have to be blunt with it. So not having personal brand in 2025 is equivalent to crickets. One of the reasons why I would recommend changing that and having a different outlook on what it means to build a brand is because personally, I've been that person up until this year, even as a brand strategist, working towards building my own personal brand and having people understand what to expect from me. As someone who's worked in cyber, who's worked in corporate environment, who's worked in marketing, branding, worked in food, whatever industries you've personally worked in and wherever it is that you desire to go, you really have to capitalize off of who you already are. And so with that being said, as a person who is currently building out their own personal brand, having people understand what to expect from you and to expect from that brand that you're building really looks like, okay, this is having a clear call to action, having a clear resume, having a clear portfolio so when people find you, that they understand what it is that you are offering them, what you have to offer in terms of what it is that you're looking for, and then also giving them examples of what you've already accomplished. And a lot of the times that people think that building a personal brand is something that is super difficult and challenging, I kind of like laugh at that point. And the truth is, you can go ahead and post all of the photos that you want and have people really not understanding or even aligning with what it is that you're sharing because of the fact that they don't understand the personal brand that you're building or your branding is off. And a lot of the times people think that building a brand means that you have to have the most perfect photos on Instagram, you have to have this amazing sculpted resume, and you have to have everything going and has to be almost perfect. And truth be told, they don't. And a lot of the times that we think that perfection is everything, it really isn't. And the most imperfect and almost minimal effort feels taken actionably over and over again is really what is going to lead to get you there. This leads me also to talking about the 80-20 rule, whereas though 80% of the actions that you take are basically going to lead you to taking only 20% of those actions are actually going to wind up coming into fruition or actually becoming something. And building your own personal brand is really not necessarily looking for anything outside of you in order to legitimize what it is that you are and who it is that you're trying to show the world that you want to become. So understanding your own uniqueness is the most important part. If you don't take anything from this video, understanding that the uniqueness of what makes your brand is everything. For example, we can look at on social media, we can look at, let's pick one person. I'm trying to think of a good personal brand. Someone with personality. Okay, so we can take Glorilla for example. So Glorilla is a rapper from Memphis, Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken, the South. She is a rapper and she came to really blew up last year and for her amazing rhymes. And what makes her brand so unique is her style of rap, her music choice, and also her being super outspoken and really sticking to her own, on gang, her own flow. So with that, her uniqueness is how she looks, is how she raps, is what she's rapping about. So with that, you understanding what's your own take, what's your own unique point, what makes it, why should people choose to tap in and listen to you, and really leaning into the uniqueness and the USP of what it is that you're selling. And that could translate also to building a business, that could translate to your own personal branding too. And really, this is another part that is like really big and that I have also really been leaning into and you really need to learn is your own story. Your own personal story can make or break your brand. You're telling your own personal story can make or break your brand. And I'm going to tell you guys a little deep dive into a story that happened to me and what I have had to learn from being a business owner and why your story is the most important part of building anything. So I'm going to tell you guys a story about how I hired social media and marketers last year. And so I went into business and I thought that you would need to have people to promote your business, which you do. Shout out to all my influencers, UGC content creators out there. I'm not mentioning you. I'm strictly mentioning people who do branding for businesses, or I'm mentioning people who do marketing for businesses. So when it comes to marketing, yes, the UGC is amazing and it so much helps, especially influencers. But when you're managing and starting a business, understanding that no one can tell your story about your business and why it started like you can. And having your own story and being able to tell it is the most important part of building a brand in 2025, is one of the most important parts of building a brand at any point in time. Having your own story and being able to convey it and tell it in a way where as though, people are really craving the storytelling. They're craving authenticity. Being able to tell your own personal story is super important to building a brand. And I think that's the most underrated part, is the storytelling aspect of what it means to maybe even like why you started, where you're at, where you would like to go with your business is so powerful than you actually realize. In today's world, like I said, authenticity is super lacking. And people want to see, they want to even just see why you created the business. They don't want to hear about really where you are at now. They want to hear about the transformation story so that they can relate, because it's in everyone's nature, especially if you're a human being watching this, you more than likely are. You need to feel that urge, or you need to fulfill the need to relate to other people. And that's one of the biggest things. A brand and building out your own personal brand is relatability, being able to relate to one another and to your own story of what it is that you're building. And a next thing that I really want to focus on is stop trying to make money. And I know that's really what do you mean stop trying to make money off of my personal brand, lady? Not trying to make money from your brand, especially within a certain time span. Maybe it's just 3 months. I'm not telling you to not monetize what it is that you're saying and whatever it is that you're selling. That's not what I'm saying. definitely have the system. This is about systems in place in order for you to monetize. I'm not speaking about monetization when I'm saying this. I'm speaking strictly about stop trying to make money. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you are trying to build a brand, you need to have a system in place to monetize, yes, but your only thing that you should ever be trying to give people is value. Don't try to sell people. Don't try to get commissions or to try to sell them things. Make what you're saying make sense. Tell your story and also provide value. That's what you want to be doing for years and years of, especially if you're just starting out and you really want to build trust. Provide as much value as you can get. Provide more value than the next person that's going to be there to tell their story after you. And the person who I believe provides the most value is going to have the most clients and customers really knocking on their door for their services, their goods, and whatever it is that they ultimately decide to do. So providing your customers value, whether it be ahead of time, before they even your customers, providing them value and the whatever way that translates best to you. For me personally, as a brand strategist, is giving out brand strategy advice like this video. It's giving that post on LinkedIn. It's giving there's so many ways that you can provide value. You can provide value just in a post on Instagram. There's so many ways of getting yourself out there by providing value. And that's really what can have people convert the most, is either entertaining them, reeling them in, or value. And then for people who are amazing at content, all three of those aspects really is what creates good conversions, because of the fact that you're providing so many services at once. And really being specific. And my next tip for you guys is really the biggest one. So knowing who you're talking to. Who are you talking to? Like that's a real way of saying it. Who is your audience? Who is watching you? Who are you talking to? Who are you trying to convey? And who are you trying to reach with your videos? And being as specific as possible with that. So a lot of the times I see people, they want to become this and become that. A lot of times they're building a brand, they don't know who their audience is. So if you don't know who your audience is, it's going to be very difficult to make videos and content and reach that audience with your personal brand. So if you can't reach them with your personal brand, they're not going to know who you are, and they're not going to be able to tap in as easily because you're not coming up on their searches. Baby, if you're making a video and it's about, branding strategy and you're labeling it for candle making, no one's going to be able to search up and to find you. So making sure that you have a specific audience, your output and what it is that you're saying and your wording is going to make the world of difference between you and someone who is not having the best copywriting and also wording for what it is that they're growing. Understanding the values that we have in terms of growing and building an audience in this day and age is super important. Making sure that you take the time to understanding your own, what really makes you unique, whatever makes your products unique. This can be applied for so much. And then coming at that with an as authentic as possible experience for the person who's watching you. But you can't do that without creating and providing value for your audience. And so in creating that value for your audience, of understanding who the ideal client is, who your ideal audience person watching is going to be, and how you can gear your message towards talking to that specific person that it is that you're trying to target with your content, with what it is that you're creating. And that's what really sets people who have successful personal brands apart from people who are still building or don't. So to really sum things up, thinking about it from a philosophical aspect of creating for the people that are there who are going to listen, as opposed to talking to ears that are just going in one ear and out the other, is so important for helping people to find you and for you to resonate with the right audience. And that leads me to saying that there are going to be people, there's always going to be competition. There's always going to be people or someone who wants to build the same thing that you're building at the same time. And the truth be told, the person who has the better and more stronger personal, and the one who has a stronger brand, is always going to come out on top. And you can have two herbalists, you can have two brand strategists, you can have two business owners who are doing the exact same thing. And like I said, they're going to get different results because of the way that they see it and their strategy to approaching it. So it's almost like a game of chess, really taking in what it is your strategy is and really simplifying it as best as possible. And I hope that this video helped you with that. Let me guys know what you think about branding and what you think it personally takes to brand a business, to brand your own services in this day and age, especially as we're in a digital age, and really taking into account whether it is you're someone who is working 9 to 5, whatever your passions is alone. Take from this, really taking into account that no two people are the same, and whatever makes you unique is what you need to always lean into. And really don't be leaving money on the table. That's one of the things I also tap into in my ebook, of really like showing you how that you can take your brand from zero to growing in the direction that you want to do, especially if you're someone who's just starting out. So make sure that you guys check out all of my links in the description below. And if you are also in need of brand strategy expertise and you're trying to build a business or even want coaching for your own personal business, definitely reach out to me. I don't do coaching for wellness. I do more so workshops for wellness, but for my branding and strategy, make sure that you guys are tapping in and reaching out to me. I do one-on-one for brand strategies and for people who are really serious about building a business into becoming a successful entrepreneur, especially in this day and age as we are in the digital sphere. Hopefully you guys took something from this video, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.